Hello everybody, I am Elicia, author of the book Don't Be a Stranger to Grief. This is my beautiful friend Kristi Snyder, who has graciously agreed to basically be a guinea pig and demonstrate how the Release with Love letter works. Reason being, so I wrote this book based off of an intervention that I created for clients that I serve in my psychology world who were struggling with healing from any form of a loss. Which interestingly, sometimes when I talk about grief or my book on grief, people are like, oh, thank goodness I haven't lost anyone yet, which is wonderful. And I also want to point out, grief isn't just about loss to death. It's not just about losing a person. Sometimes grief is loss of a relationship. Sometimes it's loss of a relationship with ourselves, another person. It might be loss of a dream or the life that you thought that you might be living. So there's a lot of places and ways in which grief affect us in our lives. And so I wanted to just demonstrate with Kristi. We specifically chose a topic that you're going to practice grieving that is very personally self-relevant, but we were also mindful of not getting too personal, right? So Kristi's actually going to write a letter to herself at a younger age, and I am just going to model for you how the process works. So just so you know the layout of the book, it's a tiny little quick read. Ooh, honestly, you could probably get through it in 2 days, and I did that on purpose. The first half of the book is going to lay the foundation of why the book matters, why it's important to even look at loss and grief in your life. The probably middle half of the book talks about how to write a Release with Love letter. I feel like I just broke the book into too many sections, but you're following me. The second half of the book really focuses on examples of letters because every letter is going to look different. Every letter is going to sound different. We pivot as we write the letter based on things that are coming out. But the most important thing is start by following the template. There is a very simple template that I have in the appendix section of the book. It's on page 64, Appendix A is the Release with Love letter with prompts. You'll notice that it's a little bit longer looking than the next page. That's because I just kind of elaborate on what do the prompts mean and what is the purpose. The very next page, Appendix B, is just the clean template. See how that takes up less than half of the page? That is what Kristi and I are going to be focusing on today. When I wrote the book, I really delineate that the best way to do this is to be a scribe to the person that might be writing a letter for themselves or to ask somebody to be your scribe. And that's what we're doing. And this is what I do with my clients. They do not just take the book home or take a sheet of paper home and do this on their own. The first time or the second time we do a Release with Love letter, it's usually in session, it's with me guiding. In fact, I'm basically asking them to complete sentences. And then I will direct them as I see whether they're giving me specific enough content for what it is that we're trying to achieve by writing the letter. So without any more babbling from me, let's see the Release with Love letter in action. So you're going to notice me looking at the screen because I'm going to type up what Kristi is saying. Normally I would be facing her for the purposes of this video and for your viewing pleasure. You've got both of us to look at here. So, all right, Kristi. Exactly. So, Kristi, who are we writing the letter to?
I am writing a letter to my younger self, 20s-ish, and just in the phase of really being fresh from a breakup. And yeah.
Perfect. So what I'm going to title that is Dear Self in 20s Shortly After a Breakup.
Love it.
Okay, excellent. And for those of you watching, if you have a specific age, if you have the name of a person you broke up with, again, for sake of privacy and such, we're going to keep this a little bit more vague, but feel free to be very specific when you write this letter. All right, Kristi, I am just going to start the sentences and I simply want you to finish them, okay? And be as specific as you can be. So, dear self in your 20s shortly after a breakup, what I miss about you most is...
What I miss about me most. I'm getting stuck on this. Is that okay for me to share?
Absolutely, it's okay to share. And I'll see if I can kind of help you bring it in.
Yeah, because I think that the grief part of me, the part of me who grieves what I lost in the relationship was my sense of self-worth.
Okay.
And so what I miss about you most, my mind tends to go to before I lost myself, sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
So I think I feel like I want to say, like, what I miss about you is the part of you who knew you were worthy of being loved.
Wow. Okay, hold on one sec. So I'm wondering, do we actually want to write this letter to the self before the relationship happened or before the breakup?
Yeah, does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it strikes me as that's the person we're grieving having lost.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right? Okay, excellent. I love this. And this is where it can really help to have somebody to do this with. Now, this is where it helps to have a therapist to do this with. I don't encourage family and friends to do what we just did. This is like however stuff. Thank you. And she's also a manifestation coach, so our conversations go incredibly deep, which I love. So I'm going to go back here. Dear self in 20s before said relationship. And you know what relationship we're talking about, right?
Only I do.
So, yes, said relationship. What I miss about you most is the part of you that knew you were worthy of being loved. Let's see. Okay. What I regret most, dear self, before said relationship is
letting you feel unworthy. Can I add to that?
Absolutely, yes.
Sticking it out in a relationship longer than I should have, when I knew I wasn't getting what I needed.
I love that. I'm gonna go back here. Okay. Anything else you want to add to that before we move away from regret?
Will you remind me the prompt again?
Yes. What I regret most is
wasting time, believing essentially lies that I told myself.
This is a very powerful letter. Dear self in 20s, I wish you knew what I know now on the other side of this. I wish you knew how inherently worthy you were / are. Okay.
I wish I had loved you better through this time. Through that time.
You're doing great.
I wish I had known how to help you so that you could have experienced this time of life with a less heavy heart.
It is so powerful, by the way, doing these letters with a friend, because I love her in such a uniquely special way, and so I hear this stuff and it just, my heart is so, it just like wants to like burst out and hold her. By the way, I'm intentionally holding here because I hear her, I don't know if you can hear her, but I hear subtle little sounds of she's not quite done with this section yet. So I just want you to know, normally we read the prompt and move on, but I can hear the inspiration still coming. And so this is why we go slow and steady. So you're doing wonderfully. Any other wishes here?
I wish you had known how to enjoy life more during this time.
Okay. Does that feel resolved?
I think it does for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember you each time and this might also be, I will remember you each time. It can be modified.
I remember you each time. I'm grateful for the relationship I have with myself today.
Okay.
I remember you each time I'm reminded of how worthy I feel now.
Okay. You made me a better person by.
The think about this one. So self before the
Yes.
relationship.
Exactly.
You made me a better person by being willing to go through that difficult relationship so that I could remember how worthy I was /am.
Love that. Good. I will honor you and or your memory by, you can fill that out however you want.
By the relationships I choose to engage with now. By reminding myself daily how deeply worthy I am. And by writing a letter to you in Elicia's book. Feels like an honoring.
Sure does. Except it didn't make it into the book, but it made it to YouTube, so that's
There you
great.
go. I'll take it, version 2.
Let's see. Okay, thank you for being my, would you call her your friend, your soul sister? What would you call her?
Thank you for being my inspiration and my reminder of
What matters most?
I feel like I'm repeating myself, but
Okay.
my reminder of how worthy I truly am.
Okay.
It's a theme to this
Yeah.
one.
And then I always ask too, how do you want to sign this? Because sometimes we know ourselves through nicknames. So is it Love Kristi?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now what we do is I'm going to actually read Kristi back her letter. Ordinarily, the person who is doing this process is not sitting next to you reading the letter along. So you wouldn't be seeing this. You, like, eyes closed, you just answer my questions, right? That's the best way to do this, because that way you're not distracted by environmental stimuli. You're just, whatever comes to mind, you say out loud, and I'd be writing. And as I wrote, by the way, and I don't know if you noticed, there were a couple times where grammatically I would add a word or I would end a sentence, start a sentence, because I understand the flow at this point of the process and what's going to make for a very powerful letter. So I'm now going to read to you all what the final letter sounds like. And Kristi, if there's anything you still want to go back in and add to this, you let me know. Otherwise, I send you the letter afterwards. All right. So, dear self in your 20s before said relationship. And by the way, you could also read it if you prefer. Do you have a preference?
I prefer you to read it.
You got it.
Thank you.
Yes. It's not unusual for tears to happen. My guess is that's why you know that. Okay. Dear self in 20s before said relationship. What I miss most about you is the part of you that knew you were worthy of being loved. What I regret most is letting you feel unworthy. I regret sticking it out in a relationship longer than I should have when I knew I wasn't getting what I needed. I regret wasting time believing essentially lies that I told myself. I wish you knew then what I know now on the other side of this. I wish you knew how inherently worthy you were and still are. I wish I had loved you better through that time. I wish I had known how to help you so that you could have experienced this time of life with a less heavy heart. I wish you had known how to enjoy life more during that time. I remember you each time. I'm grateful for the relationship I have with myself today. I remember you each time. I am reminded of how worthy I feel now. Dear self, you made me a better person by being willing to go through that difficult relationship so that I could remember how worthy I was and am. I will honor you and your memory by the relationships I choose to engage with now, by reminding myself daily how deeply worthy I am, and by writing a letter to you for Elicia's book. Thank you for being my inspiration and my reminder of how truly worthy I am. I release you with love and pray for your peace until we meet again. Love, Kristi.
I love that.
I do too. So I always love to ask, well, first, is there anything you want to add or change?
I think it's perfect.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
How did it feel writing it? How did it feel hearing it?
Writing it felt good because it prompted me to remember certain aspects of that time in my life. Hearing it read felt like closure and felt like truly like sending it off.
That's
wonderful. Yeah, that was really nice.
I still get goosebumps whenever I talk about the impact of these letters. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching. If you are interested in writing a release with love letter or helping somebody through this process, my book is on Amazon. I think it's like $9.90 something. So thanks for watching, and thank you so much for making yourself vulnerable. I love you.
You're welcome.
Bye, everybody.